Welcome back to the In Chamber. I'm your host, Tom Schumann. Before spending the last 22 plus years here at the Indiana Chamber, I enjoyed a 13-year career in newspapers. Stops included Watseka, Illinois, and Wabash and Anderson in Indiana. Extra credit for those of you out there who recognize the Plain Dealer and the Herald Bulletin, respectively, as the names of those two Indiana publications. We know newspapers have undergone tremendous change in recent years and continue to face some significant challenges. But we're going to talk today about another aspect of the media. It's the TV side of the equation. And while our guest today was at least initially focused on the Indianapolis market in his current role, he has prior experience in Evansville, and the reach of those current efforts certainly extends beyond central Indiana. DuJuan McCoy, owner of Circle City Broadcasting and the Wish and WNDY TV stations, welcome to the In Chamber.
Thank you, Tom. Glad to be here.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. DuJuan, you're an Indianapolis native, a Ben Davis High School graduate, a Butler University graduate. You've got 30 plus years in the TV industry. What's it like to own two TV stations in your hometown?
I got to tell you, Tom, it is a dream come true. It is a phenomenal experience, and it's even more phenomenal than I thought it was going to be when I decided to buy it. It's even more fascinating now that I actually own it. So for me, being brought up in the industry right out of college and starting at Channel 4, to be able to come back to Indianapolis and to be able to affect the community in which I was raised is a once in a lifetime. It's a unique experience that entrepreneurs like me just would relish if they had the opportunity to do it.
Well, DuJuan, we're going to talk about some of that community impact in a little bit, but one thing that I'm sure the listeners are going to pick up on pretty quickly here is your energy, your passion that you have. Talk about that a little bit. What drives you? What motivates you in this business?
So for me, I've always been a high motor guy, high energy guy. From childhood up and through college, I was a sprinter. I started running track when I was 5 years old. I was a sprinter. I probably could have been diagnosed at an early age as having ADD, but and that's what they're doing now. But I believe I'm just a fast thinker, and I just move fast, and I have a high motor. What drives me is being passionate and being committed to what I represent in the broadcast business. Diversity obviously is a hot button now. And in 2007, when I agreed to purchase my first group of TV stations out in West Texas, I didn't know it, but somebody told me after I purchased them, "Hey, DuJuan, you're the first black to own a Fox affiliate." So when they told me that, it was like, wow, really? I didn't know that. But now that you told me, there comes a responsibility with that when you're the only of anything in America. When you're the only person doing it, you're representing the bigger cause. So what motivates me is that cause of what I represent for diversity in media, and for Indianapolis, it's doing well and doing purposeful things for the community because I have a megaphone to do that. So those are the things that drive me is my individuality and what I represent in the industry and who I'm representing behind me.
Well, I got to ask you a question then. You talked about those designations of being the first black man to own stations in a certain market or to do something in the industry. Yep. So in 2020, through the year we've been through, is that important because it's shining the light on a successful black man, or is there a negative side to it that we have so far to go that it's not necessary to make those distinctions? How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, keep in mind, I started off in 2007, and there was one other African American that was a sidecar for a company, Sinclair Broadcasting. He was an African American that owned a Big Four affiliate. Then there just wasn't enough diversity in the publicly owned airwaves. The public needs to understand the general public, the taxpayers own public airwaves. So when the United States is a melting pot and the taxpayers own the airwaves, I think it's fair and safe to say that people who own the taxpayer airwaves and operate them and manage them should sort of look like America, okay? And for DuJuan McCoy being the only one for quite some time, yes, is a statement where we have a long way to go. I don't think there's a negative to it because you got to start somewhere, okay? It's no secret of how blacks were introduced into this country and the civil rights movement and the change that had to happen to get people of color, women for that matter, on the equal playing field in America. So I don't think it's a negative. I just think it's a step along the way that needs to happen. And that distinction needs to be recognized publicly because people need to know, wow, that this is unusual and I didn't know it, and we still need to do more. So I think it's good, and I think it's very positive that those distinctions are discussed and talked about.
Are you encouraged by what you've seen in the 13 years since you first broke into the ownership part of it? Have you seen positive signs of it? It's easier for the next person and the person after that?
So there are a lot of people, good question. There's a lot of people, Tom, behind the scenes working to improve and increase media diversity in America, particularly as it relates to the public airwaves. The FCC does a advisory diversity committee that I'm on that includes a lot of different facets of the industry to help improve diversity in media. So yes, I'm encouraged, but it's a slow putt. I mean, it is a very, very long process because you have to sync government. You have to have capable and able individuals that understand entrepreneurialism that want to get into ownership for TV. Then you got to have a training program for those people. Then you have to have people that want to sell to those people that want to get in the game. So everything has to sync, Tom, but it's a very complex process that I am very happy that we are making progress. Unfortunately, it is not as quickly, didn't happen as quickly as people might want it to. But as long as there are people behind the scenes, people like me, people like what they're doing at the FCC, still fighting and know that it's going to take a long time, we can't give up. We can't throw the towel in. We have to keep fighting.
DuJuan, as we talk today, you've been back home with the local stations for a little over 14 months. And I tell you, it doesn't appear that too many weeks go by when there's not some announcement coming out of WISH and NDY about new programming, additional reporting beats and things. And I want to get to some of those, but I want to start, I guess, with the most recent being just a couple weeks ago, the announcement of a multicultural news network. This is a big deal. Talk about how it came about and what some of your expectations are.
No, you're right, Tom. Thank you for pointing that out. This is a really, really big deal, not only for Indianapolis, not only for Indiana, but the entire media industry as a whole. And as I told you before, since 2007, I was the only active African-American owner. So with that, when people saw the press and the trades, I got invited to be on boards, diversity committees, panels, and on my own dime, I didn't say no to anybody, okay? So if I had to fly to New York and sit on a multicultural panel to discuss diversity in media, to talk about changes that need to happen, I did that. And invariably, on all these panels that I sit on and all my travels in D.C. around the country, I heard from the audience that my perspective is not heard. And those people were really multicultural people, okay? They were African-American people, they were Asian people, they were LGBTQ people. And I said to myself, you know what? They're right. They're right. And that perspective starts in the newsroom, and it starts with leadership in the newsroom, okay? So if you don't have leadership in a newsroom or an organization that understands other people's perspective, and the target market or the target audience are those other people, okay, you don't get your perspective heard on TV, on the mainstream news media, okay? So for every television station that I bought that had a news organization, I made sure that other people's perspective was being heard in the markets that I serve. And I did that by changing the leadership, inviting multicultural women to be executive producers of programs, assistant news directors, people of color. So that, for me, was the impetus for the Multicultural News Network. I said, Fox News was the first to go right-wing news in America. Rupert Murdoch, I believe, is the smartest guy in media that ever lived. Okay, he came in and said, you know what? I'm going to launch a network, and I'm going to use black people to help me launch it. Okay, with In Living Color and New York Undercover. That was back in 1985. Then in 1996, he says, you know what? Most of the media today is left-wing, and it's a liberal media. So I'm going to be the first to do an all right-wing newscast, okay? Now, fast forward, he's the highest-rated cable news network in America. He was the first, okay? Moving to MNN, the country is changing from a demographic standpoint. What people don't understand and realize that 36%, Tom, of the United States today is of multicultural descent. 36% is multicultural. So for me, being the only guy that has launched the news in America, only African-American person that has launched the news, I understand the distribution channels in America. I get that because I've been in that game. I felt like it was my responsibility to give a national voice to all of these desperate groups in America, because right now they don't have one. Okay.
So DuJuan, this is something clearly that you've been developing, or at least over time.
That's correct.
But as we look at 2020 and everything that's happened in this area, I mean, does 2020 serve to make something that was going to be big even that much bigger?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I started working on this and you heard my story. I physically start writing down goals and start working on my presentation about 2.5 years ago. And I made my presentations to all the distributors in America about 1.5 years ago. And every last one of them have seen it, okay? And when I was doing that, America wasn't at a place where it is now, okay? And now you fast forward to today, I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. DuJuan, you started this before the Black Lives Matters movement, the diversity movement, the DE&I committees for every company became to the forefront. It is time, and you had a vision, and now that vision's coming together, okay, around the country. If you recall, I mentioned things have to sink for change to happen, okay? I'm knocking on wood right now, Tom. I think things are sinking for change to happen in America. And I think MNN is part of that sinking.
It's got to be exciting, doesn't it, to see all this come together, to see this sinking take place?
Well, you know, it is exciting, but I got a lot of work to do still. I mean, I got people to hire. I got distribution to secure across the country. But yeah, this is just part of the vision again, and part of my responsibility that I think I have in the industry. I know it may sound cliche, but if I'm not doing it, I'm saying to myself, who else is doing it? Who else out there knows how to launch a newscast? Who out there that is a diverse voice and understands diversity from the heart because he's lived it throughout all of his career and his life? Who else is there to do it? So, yeah, this is really exciting for me.
Well, us and many others will keep our eyes and ears open as this develops. Let's bring it back to what some of the things you've done over that past year plus here in the Indianapolis market. Is it covering events like the political conventions this year, some of the sports programming, the community programming. Talk about some of those things and how satisfied you are with the progress you've made here with WISH and NDY in this 14 months.
So from a community standpoint, I am ecstatic about what the employees and I have accomplished in a short amount of time. I was asked, "Well, what have you done since you've been at the station?" And after I wrote down all the things that I've done, I said, "Wow." And it's only been 14 months. So for me, Tom, I am not, obviously, WISH is not affiliated with a Big Four network, okay? And I was a marketing student, and I'm pretty good at marketing, okay? So if I'm not affiliated with a Big Four network in my hometown, and they got a pretty good audience, and if I want to participate and compete against those guys, I got to find my flanking opportunity, using a marketing term there, my flanking opportunity to grow my business and to identify with my viewers. And it was a natural get for me, or a natural instinct for me to go after community. Okay. I did that in Evansville as well. I mean, I launched the news from scratch in Evansville, Indiana in 2015. It was a CBS and a Fox affiliate in market number 103 that didn't have a newscast. Okay. And a large company prior to me owned it. So I launched the news in 2015, and the branding was News 15, focused on family and the community. I didn't want to do eyewitness news or we're the first in news. I wanted to find a niche that I felt like the community would embrace, and they did. It was natural for me in Indianapolis because I'm from here, and I know the corners of the city. I know the neighborhoods of the city. I know a lot of the organizations. I know a lot of the people. So that was a natural fit for me to do that. So I'm ecstatic, and I'm looking forward to what else we can do in Indianapolis for the community.
What are you most proud of so far in this journey here back in Indianapolis? Any one or two things that really stand out for you?
Yeah,
I mean, the list is pretty long.
Yeah, but I'll tell you the one that first comes to mind is when we did, there's two of them, and it happened during COVID because COVID was unexpected. When I got a call from the superintendent of Indianapolis, and she said, "Hey, people are in buses, DuJuan. We can't. The signal and Wi-Fi is scarce, and signal's buffering, and they can't get their lessons." And I said, "You know what? I feel you. I used to be an IPS student. What I'm going to do, let's do lessons and put them on free TV. I think everybody has a TV, or everybody has an antenna, or they can get WNDY, and we'll put the instructions out." And we produced first-class lessons and aired them for free on WNDY during our news simulcast hour from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. every day. And my crew did a phenomenal job, and that made me feel real good. Okay, that said, DuJuan, you're giving back. You didn't forget where you came from, and it's just a joy to help other people that can't help themselves. So,
and that would be an example. I would take it as something that you do as that local independent player that maybe gives you an advantage over some of the network affiliates. Maybe they aren't in a position to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we could call it an advantage, but for me, I think everybody can do what I do. I just think I have the passion to do it. Okay. For me, no matter, and if people know me, they're going to say, yeah, DuJuan's high energy, but he's a passionate guy. If DuJuan sticks his teeth into it and commits to it, he's going to go full tilt boogie all the way. Okay. And that's the passion, and that's just part of my drive, and that's part of my energy. So, I did it when I owned TV stations in other markets. I'm doing it in Indianapolis. And when I launch M&N, look out, because now I get an opportunity to affect the nation and people across the country, not just in local communities like Indianapolis.
So I may have cut you off there. You said maybe you had a couple of things. Was there something else you wanted to
The
add
other
about?
thing, I mean, when we did a fundraiser during COVID for the unemployed restaurant workers, that was important to me. We just did a Moselle Sanders fundraise this last week that I think the number came in at over $100,000 that we helped them raise to feed needy people, and we did a exclusive TV station text to donate thing. So anything that I can do, Tom, that makes a difference in the community that I serve, and they really stand out to me when they're measurable. Okay, and you can quantify. Hey, DuJuan, this is how many of those students via the Nielsen ratings watched the IPS classes. Here's how much money you raised. So those are the things that really stand out to me, the ones that are measurable.
So here's my we'll call it my psychological question of the day.
Sure.
You brought it up. You talked about your background as a sprinter.
Yep.
And what I see and what I hear from listening to you today is, building TV stations, obviously building this multicultural news network. That's a little bit more of a marathon than a sprint. It takes a lot of things to come together. But do you still utilize those that sprinter mindset, so to speak, to help get those things done?
So a very good question again. So for me, in business, it's good to be a sprinter, but you got to have endurance. So you got to be able to run that marathon. Okay, I tend to be a fast thinker. That's where the sprinting comes in, and I'm quick to give answers. So you're right. Building something is a long game, and I don't play short game, particularly when you're doing something like M&N. So I don't think M&N's going to be great in the first year, first 2 years, first 3 years, okay? But year 5, 6, 7, once we get some traction, I think it's going to be one of the highest rated news networks in America. You look at what Fox News, I use Fox News as an example because Rupert Murdoch used a flanking strategy, okay? He said there's no right-wing news. It's going to be me. It started off slow, okay? And it really, really took off during 9/11 when he diverted and started waving the flag during his promo spots and America is Me kind of news network. And it really took off after that. Okay. They were the first ones to put the president on the TV live and in New York where they were based. That was a big deal. So I don't think M&N, I know for a fact building a company is not a short game. Building a company is a long game. I think M&N will be a worldwide news network one day. Why? Because as multiculturalism continues to grow, Tom, in America, okay, again, 36% is already multicultural. In the year 2060, the demographics are projected to be 56% of America will be multicultural. And these people are coming from different countries. They're not just black people. When people think of multicultural, oh, it's black. No, multicultural is Asian, Middle Eastern, or this country was designed to be a melting pot, okay, and is living up to its billing now, okay? And so I believe long-term, M&N is going to be one of the highest-rated worldwide news networks in America or in the world. I think the content will play in the Middle East. I think it will play in Australia. I think it'll play in all different parts of the country via B-Sky-B, which is a satellite company overseas. So, and they're looking for content. And if all these desperate countries and people are moving to America because America's a greater place, okay, back home, they're going to want to know, why is America such a great place? Well, you're going to be able to find out on M&N in your country eventually. So that's my vision.
I was going to say, so it's national and global, but it's potentially down the road, but it's originating, or at least has a home here in Indiana and Indianapolis. What does that do for our city and state?
Oh my goodness, yeah, you hit it on the head. I mean, for me, I was talking to a young lady yesterday that works for IDCC, the development committee for the state. And she said, DuJuan, this is going to be great for us. I said, yeah, it's going to be phenomenal for the state. It's going to be phenomenal to have a national news network. Every day when we say live from Indianapolis, Indiana, okay, that's national. Live from Indianapolis, Indiana. Everybody's going to see that. Right now, a lot of people still around the country think of Indianapolis as Nap Town. Okay, I can say that because I'm from Indianapolis. Nap Town, sleepy little town. But when they see every day on a news network some live programming is originating from Indianapolis, that's going to be a big deal. That's going to put Indianapolis in areas of the country, areas of the world that we haven't gotten in before. Okay, this is going to give a platform. MNN will give a platform for organizations in Indianapolis that people don't know that they're in Indianapolis. That's going to give them somewhere in their backyard. They could just drive down to 1950 North Meridian Street and have network coverage if they have meaningful stories or have something meaningful to say. So I think it's going to do phenomenal growth opportunities and help the city grow, if that's what, and I know that's part of the plan for the city and the state. So I think MNN is going to work wonders for us.
One last question on that. I know you explained it's a long-term play. It's going to take a few years to get where you want to be. What's the time frame? When can we expect to see it on the air? Things work out.
Yeah, so I don't want to be specific on a date because I don't want to be held to a date, but we're saying the second half of the year of 2021 is going to launch. And you will see it hopefully live and in living color everywhere in the country. Excellent.
A couple things, DuJuan, as we wrap up. Obviously, as I mentioned early on, people would hear your passion and your energy. When you do have any spare time, when you're not working on MNN or Wish or some of your national initiatives, what are any hobbies, things you like to do to relax and take it easy?
So I kid around and I tell folks that you can call me on my cell phone. I'm like an ATM machine. I never close. Okay. And I'm like an ATM machine. I never close, and I'm easily accessible. But during my spare time, I like to golf. Okay. I play a lot of golf. I work out religiously. That's part of my routine. That keeps me mentally intact. I have a Peloton that, my entire family is on in different parts of the country. So I stay physically fit, stay mentally active. I do a lot of golf. Those are the main things that I do during my downtime. And I'm a voracious reader. Okay. I read a lot of periodicals. I read a lot of newspapers electronically, a lot of magazines electronically. And I cover the gamut in what I read. So, those are the things that I do to somewhat relax.
Mm-hmm. Last question we ask everybody this year, and you've answered it in part, but we want to kind of hear it phrased this way. When you look back at the end of the day, and whether it's been from a professional standpoint, a personal standpoint, what's made it a great day for DuJuan McCoy?
What's made it a great day? First thing that comes to mind is that I'm healthy. My family's healthy. I am enjoying my career. I love what we are accomplishing at Wish TV in Indianapolis. I love the fact that I'm really, really making a difference in the community. So that's making it a beautiful day for me. Those things, probably in that order too. Health, family's great. And my business is doing okay and doing well, and I think my employees are happy too. So I'm a happy camper right now, if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, and you've I don't know if you can share numbers, but certainly you've added employees over these 14 months in a time when many media companies are scaling back.
Yeah, I mean, when I was writing down all the things that I've done, I've added, and we're not done yet, close to 30 employees. I've built a new master control. I've hired more salespeople. I haven't laid off any talent in my newsroom at all. And I'm still looking to hire certain people. And I would be hiring more if I could find the right person in the positions that I'm looking for. So, yeah, things are knock on wood, things are rolling pretty good for me.
Well, DuJuan, we hope for even more success, and obviously in 2021 and beyond. Thanks so much for taking time to share your insights, your passion with our listeners today.
Well, I appreciate you having me, and I'm glad I could contribute to your podcast.
All right. Well, thank you. I know everyone, you've enjoyed our conversation with DuJuan McCoy. Stay tuned, even bigger and better things to come with the ongoing efforts at WISH and WNDY and the development of the Multicultural News Network. In 2 weeks, we'll return with our closing episode of the 2020 calendar season of the In Chamber. Got an inspirational story of a young Hoosier college student, in fact, but I think you'll really enjoy that as we wrap up 2020. Also incorporate a few things from our recent Chamber Annual Awards celebration. You know, a couple of the themes there ties into today's conversation as well as the next one. You know, we're all going to be better together. We're going to be stronger as a result of what we've gone through in 2020. So again, we are very appreciative. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode of the In Chamber.